whatever else. We'll do that at the end, okay?
Sounds good.
Perfect. And we're live. And welcome everybody back to the virtual 21 days of the 2020 eTourism Summit, celebrating our 21st anniversary of this amazing event. And it's a lot different, but I hope you all have enjoyed the incredible content. And we're incredibly fortunate today to have an amazing panel to really address a lot of the changes that all of us are dealing with, and understanding kind of what are the tools and the partners that we need to utilize and to explore as we go into building and planning our 2021 marketing plans. And we're extraordinarily lucky today to have an amazing sponsor in Madden Media, and an amazing host and moderator in Matt Clement, who has been at eTourism Summit for years and years on many different sides of this, so know the DMO space from literally every angle. So Matt, I want to thank you for agreeing to moderate today's panel and carry on this conversation. I want to make sure we thank Madden Media as well. And I just want to let everybody know that this is a ton of really impressive destination marketing talent today. If you have any questions, please put them up in the chat bar in the Q&A, and we'll make sure that we get to those at the end of this hour. So we're in for a great day, a great hour. Matt, again, thank you, panelists. We can't tell you how much we appreciate your support of eTourism Summit. So to you, Matt.
All right. Well, good morning. At least here on the West Coast, still good morning. Happy to join this awesome panel today from Madden's headquarters here in Tucson, Arizona. No, I've not left Fort Worth. Still live there, just out here visiting and enjoying the sunshine. And I am really, really blessed to be joined by three very, very good friends and brilliant marketers to talk a little bit about marketing stacks and how the pandemic obviously has changed some of that thinking. So, myself, for those that have not had the opportunity to meet before, my name is Matt Clement. I'm managing partner here at Madden Media. Previous to that, you would have found me working over with the good folks at Arrivalist, and then previous to that, stops at Adara and Visit Fort Worth. And I'm joined today by my good friend Jeff Robinson, who is Director of Marketing at Visit Indy, Melissa Gogol, who is Visit Phoenix, very awesome CMO and a good friend of mine, and a noted Kansas City Chiefs fan. And then, Leroy Bridges, who needs really no introduction at eTourism Summit. And he did not comb his hair today, so he's wearing a Tampa Bay Rays hat. Go Rays. I believe they are getting all over the Yankees. So if you guys would like to introduce a little bit, talk about yourselves for just a sec, I'll kick it over. We'll say ladies first. And Melissa, if you want to do a more proper introduction, feel free.
Hi, yes, thanks, Matt, for that. As Matt mentioned, I oversee marketing here at Visit Phoenix. I also oversee our media relations and tourism departments. I will admit that I've been here over 20 years, so been around at Visit Phoenix for a while. And of course, what we're going through right now is unprecedented. So definitely nothing that I've had to deal with before that any of us have had to. So it's fun to be a part of this panel.
Jeff, you want to go next?
Sure. Hello, everyone. Jeff Robinson, 15-year veteran here at Visit Indy. In fact, I remember my first eTourism Summit, I think it was in San Francisco up on Nob Hill. It's been quite a while, but it's been great to see this conference evolve, and certainly never imagined we'd be doing it over screens here, but sort of new. But it is all about digital marketing. So here we go, using digital tools. For those who don't know, Indianapolis, we are, above all, a major meetings and events destination. Obviously, this has been a real tricky period for us as we're trying to keep that industry going in our city. I work with an internal team. We've got 11 people on an internal marketing team that really handle everything. We call ourselves the agency because we act as an agency. So PR, media buying, video, you name it, we do it in-house. So anyways, pleased to be here. What an awesome panel.
Yeah, last but not least, I guess. Thanks for that, Matt. Yes, just sporting, got to support the hometown Rays, and no one likes the Yankees anyway, so go Rays. Leroy Bridges, Vice President of Digital and Communications at Visit St. Pete Clearwater. We're the third largest destination in the state of Florida. We're happy to kind of get into a little bit of, kind of our challenge during this time, which is Florida is always kind of a bit of a punching bag nationally. Florida Man exists for a reason, and trying to balance that with the health crisis and driving tourism. I still remember, gosh, I wish we were sitting in Hotel Kabuki right now in Japantown in San Francisco. My first e-tourism back in 2013, and meeting a lot of you three on the panel out there at e-tourism, and a lot of you in the chat. So wish we were together. But yeah, excited to kind of dive into some of these topics and unpack what our current situation is right now, and how do we try not to get too discouraged. It's a difficult time, but we're all in this together. There's no doubt.
Yeah, amen to that. Well, so let's, obviously the title of this session, we're talking about the marketing stack, and I understand the vast majority of it. A lot of you understand what that marketing stack is. There might be a few of you that don't. So let's just define it real quick. Essentially a marketing stack is just the group of technologies and all of the different tools that marketers like our panel here today leverage to execute and analyze and improve all of the things all of their marketing activities. And so that encompasses a lot of things: marketing automation, measurement, obviously planning tools and the like. So we're going to cover a lot of those today and go through some of the tools that our panel here have been utilizing through the pandemic and really trying to get the job done under pretty extraordinary circumstances. And I think that's a good segue straight into the first question, guys, which, obviously, again, we know how much COVID-19 has changed the game. Nobody needs to explain that. A lot of DMOs are having to take second and even third looks at the platforms that they're using, the tools that they're subscribing to, and really making sure that everything that you're using has a defined value. I think the days of sort of just having nice to haves is kind of gone. So in this kind of environment that we're operating in, can you, the three of you, talk a little bit about your philosophy towards your marketing stack? How has your mindset changed towards the tools that you're using, the things that are in your stack, which also include, the types of media that you're buying, and so forth. So, Melissa, why don't we start with you and just talk a little bit about, are you cutting back? Are you charging forward? Are you trying to automate things? How has this changed your particular stack in Phoenix?
Sure. Well, I'll just start by saying that we've been extremely fortunate to keep our marketing team intact. We are a small but mighty team. Other than myself, the actual marketing staff is 5 people. So if we didn't have some tools in place to help us, it would be hard during normal times, but especially now. So we were fortunate to have some good tools in place prior to the pandemic, and to also have added a couple of new positions prior to the pandemic. So the combination of those things has really helped us. And I think with budgets tight, it might be difficult to add new services during this time. So I wouldn't say we've added anything new, but we have a management platform that helps us manage not only media, but projects. And so like Jeff said, his team acts like an agency. We really do the same thing for our staff internally. And, every department has needed to communicate in different ways with their clients this year. So having a tool that helps us manage all of the requests that we're getting from other departments has really been invaluable to us.
And I know we're going to talk about that here in just a minute.
Sure.
Leroy, how about in St. Pete Clearwater, how have things changed for you, or how's your thinking changed?
Yeah, so I'll be honest, I think thoughts go out to all of our DMO partners and those who have lost their jobs during this time. I mean, it's been so challenging. We've been fortunate. Our structure, we are county government. We have a good reserves in place. We have not lost any staff. While, obviously during the lockdown, we weren't marketing as much. So certainly we weren't marketing at all. Certainly haven't spent as much money as a normal year. So our budget levels are down, but it's a little bit of a product of of the shutdown. But, you know, a big difference between Melissa and Jeff, and I've got to give a shout out to our two agencies who are, you know, incredible partners of ours, Miles Partnership on the digital side and BVK on the traditional side. Without them, I mean, we've got a great core internally, but we're talking 4 or 5 people. So a lot of the great work that we do is in close partnership with our agencies. And I will tell you that kind of internally and with the agencies, we've really gotten back to basics, I would say. You know, again, we're fortunate as the 3rd largest destination in the state of Florida. We have good resources, but during a time like this, it is a pullback. It is a focusing, narrowing the focus, and really, you know, not limiting waste, right? There are a lot of people out there who don't want to travel or aren't going to travel, frankly. And so we're really trying to get back to basics, narrow the focus, and really do the low funnel tactical stuff really, really, really well. And we'll get into some of the specifics on that, but really a lot of internal content creation mixed with some agency media buying.
Jeff, how about in Visit Indy?
Sure. Well, and yeah, when I say that we act as an internal agency, that's not to say that we don't use any external partners. Yeah, we know what we can do and what we can't do, and so we do lean on people to do our AdWord purchasing. We do lean on some people for helping us connect with the right audiences and things like that. So we have an agency here in Indiana that we work with on some of that, and we work with Orange 142 on some things on the meeting planner side of things. But I think sort of going back, I think having the right team really does make a huge difference, especially during this period. So when this all hit, you know, we all sort of once we got over the initial shock, we all went into content creation mode, right? So whether that was trying to get people to support our local businesses, keep them engaged through different sort of content programs, you know, tell us what you're going to do when the pandemic ends, you know, those sort of things, puzzles and quizzes, whatever we could do to like stay engaged with our audiences was huge. But I think a lot of, so fast forward, CARES Act money comes out to our city government. And they needed someone who could execute a campaign to try to revitalize downtown. And thankfully, we were staffed to the point that, when they were looking at the chamber and different people who could possibly execute this, the fact that we had the internal resources and that we didn't have to take a huge chunk of that money and spend it on agencies. You know, we could do most of the media buying. My videographer was filming commercials in her living room, which were extraordinary. So, you know, I was doing all the design work. So the fact that we could execute, you know, we did a 10-week $1 million ad buy, essentially using all internal resources. And so I think being staffed properly for when crisis hits is really important. So yeah, I'll sort of leave it there for now.
So generally speaking, guys, it sounds like what I'm hearing from the three of you is really, it's kind of been within regards to the marketing stack that you're using, the tools that you're using, it's been mostly a hold the line philosophy then, and certainly making sure that you're providing, that your partners at your agencies have the tools they need. So that's what correct me if I'm wrong here, guys, but I'm hearing that it's a hold the line philosophy then.
I mean, we got to market our way out of this thing as we work through this. I mean, we're not just going to bounce back without. So I think, our organizations, it sounds like, recognize that, which is super important.
Sure. Well, so let's kind of transition a bit here. Obviously, at the beginning here, Melissa was talking about some of the planning tools that she uses and how important that's been. And again, we're having to shift so fast, and a lot of us, some of us nerdier folks like me have subscribed to systems like Get Things Done, a system of trying to keep all the balls in the air without falling to the wayside. I have an embarrassing number of planning apps on my iPad, probably, but just from an organizational planning perspective, Melissa, you had mentioned during some of our planning calls for the session about a tool that you're using that you guys actually had installed at Visit Phoenix before the pandemic, but has really shined since. So do you want to tell us a little bit about that?
Absolutely. The name of the platform is called Media Plan HQ. Name is a little misleading. We do use it for media planning, and we do have an agency that helps with our media buying. So both teams are in there from a media standpoint, and that's incredibly helpful. But the other part of that is that it's a project planning tool as well. And we really use that for internal projects. I'll give a shout out to my director of marketing, who was instrumental in implementing that program probably maybe a little less than 2 years ago. And like I said, we do have some outside agencies that we use, but we do not have a creative agency. That's not one of our agencies that we have. So gosh, in early 2019, we hired a graphic designer, which that was the first time we had a dedicated graphic designer. And then we hired a content manager, also just dedicated to creating content. And we get a lot of requests from our internal departments. Just like Indy is a big meetings destination, we are as well. I mean, we're big meetings and big leisure, so we need to provide a lot of support to our sales and services teams. We also support the media relations team with anything that they need, the tourism team, which is the travel trade side. And our team really took the lead, especially with email communication. A lot of that going around to our members, to our clients. And we took the lead in kind of advising those other departments what the tone of the messaging needed to be. We wanted to make sure that was consistent across the board. So that planning tool, every project that we work on goes in there. Our staff knows how to enter it. So if somebody in the sales department needs a project done, they know how to go in and enter it. They classify it as a sales project. And then maybe it's also, if it's an email project, they can see the status of that project as we're working on it. You know, items can be prioritized in there. So I'm really not sure what we would have done at this point. We would have managed somehow, but the platform made it a lot easier to keep track, making sure projects stayed on time, were being executed. So I highly recommend having that type of tool in your toolbox, if you will.
Yeah, can I sort of add on to that? You know, I think in the meetings market in particular, it's vital that just because meetings aren't happening, that we don't lose touch with our meeting prospects and clients. So we very early on implemented a weekly touch point. So some of it was sort of sales oriented, but a lot of it was just, we were doing weekly workouts. We're doing, some sort of what I would call a little fluffier touch points, but we wanted to stay in front of them. And I think, we had a meeting with our customer advisory board just this week, and they were just commenting on the fact that we've stayed in touch with them through all of this has meant a lot to them. And so I think it's important, again, just because that market has slowed down, that we don't cease to communicate with them, the highs, the lows, whatever. But I think staying connected through all of this so that when the market does open up again, which it's going to, Lord willing, it is going to, that you're top of mind and that you keep that relationship strong throughout this sort of crazy period.
Yep. Leroy, anything to add to that as well?
No, I mean, I like to hear the email conversation. I think oftentimes, it's the OG of marketing. It is free. It requires, it can require very little work. So I think, just making sure that you have an email program. And we could specifically we use Acton that's a tool provided through SimpleView that syncs in with the CRM, and there are personalization, automated emails that you can build out within there to do some of the heavy lifting for you. But email, that's a building block, and I think something during this time that has been hugely beneficial to lean on and be able to do without spending any money.
Well, and we make sure that we personalize all of those sales messages from our salespeople, right? Because at the end of the day, people buy from people, not organizations. So making sure that you keep those, your sales people in front of their prospects and clients, I think, is huge.
And real quick, one addition there, something that we've started to do, and I know maybe some of us on the marketing side might get a little anxious or nervous about this statement, but we've been training up our sales teams to use Acton. You can lock down Acton to very specific mailing lists. It's a lot of these email platforms are pretty easy to use. Find a champion on the individual sales team, because it takes that load off of the marketing team. Now you help them get the template set and all of those things, and you're probably going to have to swoop in from time to time to remind them on certain linking or style. But if you can train somebody up in those other sales entities to help facilitate the using, touching base and really getting it out, lessens the burden on the marketing side, and you can, you're still, turning that crank.
Well, I'm glad you mentioned that, Leroy, because I know we were going to talk here in a little bit, but I think it's a great time to go ahead and bring it up. Email has obviously become a lot more important. It seems like a lot more people are talking about it. It used to be kind of a dirty word in marketing circles, but it seems to have a resurgence going currently. Jeff, you also mentioned that you're working with Acton, so I'd love to hear your thoughts on that. And then Melissa, we'll come back around to you to discuss how you guys are using it, but email marketing. But anyway, Jeff, talk a little bit about what Visit Indy is doing with Acton and just in general with email marketing.
Yeah, so we actually switched to Acton shortly before the pandemic hit, and talk about good timing. We have leaned so heavily on that platform. And we haven't even really scratched the surface on the automation possibilities. We are sort of going down that rabbit hole right now, because there's so much that you could do in terms of automating and being responsive to people based on actions that they take on your website and things like that. So we're still trying to figure out all of that. But in the meantime, we've got programs going to our partners, to our meeting planners. Certainly on the leisure side, we developed a program called the Weekend 5. This is probably 5 years ago, where we're sending out 5 things to do every weekend, which has been a challenge sometimes over the pandemic, because not a lot going on in terms of events, but we've gotten creative, and we've kept that out in front of people. And so the sheer volume of email coming out of our shop right now is off the charts. And without that element, we'd be sort of at a loss. So it's been a great tool for us.
Melissa, how about a Visit Phoenix? Any particular email tools that you want to share about? Or
we actually, so I'll be the outlier here. We use Higher Logic, and we have been with them for a while. Works really well for us. Yes, I feel like we do have one person on our team that she really does focus on helping everybody with their email. She schedules everything, makes sure the content is right. She's been very busy. We've been churning out emails. Initially, those emails were to our members, just, trying to stay in touch, assuring them of what we were doing, making sure they knew that we were there to support them. Initially some of that communication stopped with clients and consumers, but when we kicked it back up, especially on the consumer side, it's been really nice to just be able to target. I'm sure all platforms can do this, but target geographically, because we've been very careful in the rollout of our paid media, staying local, then going through the state, then drive market. Not unlike what everybody else is doing, but it's been nice to really be able to mirror our email communication to consumers with the same markets that we're advertising to on the paid side. So it's just a great tool to manage. We have all of the departments, like they know what open rates and all of that are, and they get anxious to see what that looks like after their emails go out. And we've seen better stats actually in the last 6 or 7 months, better open rates, better engagement. Because for whatever reason, people really were, I think, leaning on email for their form of communication. I don't know if that's because social media was getting to be a little too much and people necessarily, maybe they wanted to back off a little bit from that. But I know there have been several studies that showed people were very interested in hearing via email. So I mean, like we all said, I don't know how we would manage those emails without a platform that helps coordinate and time and know how well they're performing.
Yeah,
Thanks
just
for
real
that.
quick note. We're in the good news business, and I think that's important for people to remember too, right? Like travel and tourism, it's fun, it's exciting, and email, don't overcomplicate it. I think at times people can overcomplicate it. You know, if you get an award or an accolade, or if you get some great media coverage, or any type of new opening or decent piece of content that you roll out on your site, I mean, find a way to build that into an email and reach people with it.
Absolutely. Well, thank you guys for that, and let's transition now, pivot over to just talking about media a little bit. So we know that there's an awful lot of research and data out there about how COVID-19 has changed the way that Americans are consuming content. You know, we have some stats here. I mean, 42% of Americans paying more attention to linear or traditional TV. 53% paying even more attention to the web than they already were before the pandemic. 45% paying more attention to streaming TV. And radio, not surprisingly, a lot of people working from home. It's down by about 24% that Americans are paying less attention to radio. So things are changing a little bit. I think it's amplifying some of the things that were already happening in our culture and in our world before the pandemic. And I think, you know, all the while we have all these changes that Apple and Google are making, you know, to their iOS platform, the changes that Google has made over the past year that have made attribution, for instance, a lot harder to pull off. So with all of these factors going on and all of these things that are impacting us at the same time, let's talk a little bit about the media portion of your stack. And hopefully I'm not lagging too much here. It seems like I might be a little bit. But Leroy, it seems like you have probably of everyone, the most robust media stack, it seems like. And certainly you've been at the forefront of attribution for a long time. So let's talk a little bit about some of the partners you're using and your thought process of how you add media partners to that particular part of your stack and what your thoughts are about that.
Yeah, I've long thought DMOs need to spend more and more time lower in the funnel. Our job is to drive bookings into hotels, and I think that sure you need high level inspiration, but I think the higher you go in the funnel, the more waste you have, the less attribution, the actually direct bookings ROI on our spend. And so what we've done. And I'll kind of break it down a little bit into kind of right after the shutdown and our beaches reopened into kind of where we're going. And we really, like I said, got back to basics. And not because of a budget restraint, but because of what certain vendors could provide us. So we Conversant and Sojourn were the two partners that we leaned into in a big way coming out of the shutdown. Still today, and they will be the core foundation of our program throughout 2021. And for those who don't know, I mean, Conversant is a product that I've been a big fan of because of what they can provide you, not just from a media performance standpoint, but a post media report, not scaled up, not modeled data, but actually dollars spent in your destination by credit card swiping, first party data that they own. So you can see by market. And for us, Tampa Bay is a huge, visitation and spend market, but sometimes it clouds our other markets. So we're able to actually get a report that includes Tampa Bay and excludes Tampa Bay to really get a handle on what some of those other markets look like. Total spend broken out by category, from restaurants to retail to hotels, as well as how different markets are indexing based on spend, and then also drill down into zip code of that spending within the destination. And one of our most recent reports we got, I mean, there's the leading spend zip code in the destination is an area that we create a ton of content on, has 0 hotels, is a great spot in St. Pete that we try to make sure people know about. And they're leading the county as far as conversant spending goes. It's a pretty incredible story to be able to tell that district in St. Pete. There's also some demographics of those spenders that come with that data. On the Sojourn side, they're tried and true. Year after year, they are one of our best performing media partners, not just from a traditional metric standpoint, your cost per click, your cost per page view, your cost per site engagement, but also as far as Adara arrivals, arrivalist lift, stay lift, all of those, maybe advanced metrics, they perform off the charts and are continuing to perform really well. And, again, the importance there, the targeting. We're able to use their third-party data to say these people are actively looking for a Florida beach vacation. And what does that do? It eliminates the waste. It eliminates reaching the people who, because of COVID, they don't want to hear your travel message. And I forgot to mention on the data side, in terms of the targeting for conversant, you can target those people who previously swiped their credit card in your destination and use that data to really build some really good models. So those are the 2 partners we're leaning into in a big, big way. I can't recommend them enough. I promise I don't get paid to say that. I think they are great fundamental partners for any media plan.
Well, yeah, and I can appreciate that for sure. Melissa, how about at Phoenix? And maybe not even just, if you want to discuss specific partners, great, but maybe even just your general philosophy, especially for a destination that's so big and get so many facets to it.
Yeah, so for media for us, we were a little different than most destinations in the timing. Most destinations, summer is their big travel season. You may have heard it's a little warm in Phoenix in the summer. So, when all of this hit and when people were thinking about traveling again, not our best season. And typically in the summertime, we would be pulling back on advertising anyway. What we do mostly in the summer is really hit our drive market anyway and promote the deals at our area resorts. So we did that locally this year. So really we're fortunate that people here really understand what a true staycation means. They're used to staying at a resort in their own backyard. So some of the things that Leroy has been talking about, we'll be doing when we amp up more for kind of fall and winter travel. So up to this point, we've really been relying on more managed platforms. So Facebook, Pinterest, Google, pay-per-click has been where we've kickstarted our paid media. And we're getting ready to roll out a little bit more of a robust plan for fall. Just for us, it doesn't make sense to put all that money into summer. So we're fortunate that our weather is going to be getting really good when other weather might be taking a turn for the worse elsewhere. So we really have an opportunity to push out that outdoor message that a lot of people were doing during the summer, a little harder for us to do. So yeah, we're excited to get the paid media back up and running. You really realize how much that can help your web traffic and things like that. It's very noticeable when it's not there, obviously mixed with all the right things. So we're ready to get back up and running there, but we will be looking at more tactical platforms, where we can track bookings and we can really drill down to behavior. One thing we talk a lot about here, and we've been able to do it on the managed platforms, and that's really targeting responsible travelers. So it's so nice in today's age that we can, search for keywords for people that understand the value of coming to a destination and being respectful and a responsible traveler. So those tools are great that let us target that.
I'll just quickly add on. We actually use Conversant as well. We did not use them this year, only because when we nixed our advertising back in April, June, July, by the time we went back in August, we had a 10-week period, and it just wasn't the data we would have gotten from them wouldn't have really been apples to apples to the year before. So we actually did go to a hotel booking message, right? We had 10 weeks to try to bring some vitality to our downtown. So we put together a campaign that was entirely focused in-state, 50% off hotels for in-state residents, just to get some people coming back into the city. As an urban destination, we were dealing with fallout from, obviously all of the issues around Black Lives Matters and, the things that the looting and all of that. So we needed recovery. And so we went with a very direct message about come downtown, you'll get the best deal. We diversified our, we're traditionally all digital. We actually use television, radio, which is not usually our approach. But we had a lot of money to spend in a short amount of time, and we needed to sort of hit on as many different channels as we could. And I will say, connected TV and YouTube were two that really, outside of, SEM and social is always carrying the load. But I will say, YouTube and connected TV really performed well for us. And YouTube in particular, which we had not invested heavily in the past, was really a top performer for us, and we'll be in the mix for sure going forward.
I'm really glad you brought that up, Jeff, because, I can tell you here in Madden as well, and even in my previous role at Arrivalist, connected TV has really come on strong. Here in Madden, we're doing quite a bit of work on that front, especially with big partners like Samsung. And I think you hit it on the head about, you mentioned SEO. And one of the things, I think that's changing about SEO is it's no longer just about written content that's driving SEO. It's also video and people searching for that. And so I think that's becoming a part of the SEO strategy that we're looking at here. And I know that a lot of other agencies and DMOs are thinking about as well. And, the other part about it is that connected TV, for instance, is no longer, it seems like in the beginning, we thought about connected TV, I think, as sort of an upper funnel tool. Same thing with YouTube. It wasn't something we necessarily connected a direct outcome, a quick outcome to, or at least I never heard much about that. But now I feel like it's beginning to permeate the entire funnel. And I think that's more important than ever, because I know we're all looking for, mid to low funnel tools, because with so much uncertainty, we don't know what we're going to be dealing with in 3 months. So we're having to adjust our marketing strategies, I think, to, pull back a little bit on that upper funnel stuff. Because again, if we're talking about efforts that might not pay off for 6 months or whatever it is, we don't know what the travel situation will be. And that's the unfortunate reality I think we're dealing with. So it sounds like you guys are thinking about that too. Really, Leroy, you hit on it really hard about I need partners that I know are going to convert in a period of time where I can positively affect visitation when I need to, and also kind of in a time frame where I feel confident that travel is going to be allowed.
Yeah, I mean the reality is booking windows right now are 0 to 6 days and 3+ months. Really, really narrow and really, really far out.
So I'm glad that you.
It looks like Matt's lagging a little bit here. I'm going to keep powering through, Matt. But I will say, as we transition into post-election, we are going to start to reintroduce some of that. What I would, again, we've been fortunate to run Conversant Sojourn really since our beaches reopened. Facebook, social, and SEM and YouTube have been there too. We're going to start to layer in connected TV, digital radio, and we're using Arrivalist to look at some out-of-state markets in a big way as we move forward, here post-election into the winter time, which is usually, a really big time of year for us to target northern markets. It's colder, and Arrivalist has been a huge tool for us. Matt, are you still with us? Did you just drop your camera? Can you hear us?
Yeah, I just dropped my camera, guys. I was going to try to maybe switch Wi-Fi. So, you got to love live TV, guys. No, I totally agree. I hear you loud and clear on that. And I do want to talk. I want to come back to that measurement discussion a little bit more towards the end of the session. But I do want to talk about something, switch topics for a second. The other thing I think during the pandemic is the value of our websites, whether that's been the amazing things that, folks like Gathan up in Lexington have done with, helping out his local community using his website, the way that a lot of DMOs have been using it to message about how to travel safely in their communities, or, you saw places like Fort Worth that were, highlighting here's what's open, and then a lot of folks also, helping drive some of the diversity and inclusion initiatives that I'm really proud to say I think our industry's gotten behind full force. Here's Black-owned businesses that you can support, and I think that's fantastic. But it's also highlighted really the value of our websites. And Jeff, I know you've got some, and I know all of you will have some interesting things to share that are in your stack as it pertains to your websites. But Jeff, I think you had a couple of really cool items that you wanted to share on that front. So maybe you could tell us a bit about it.
Well, are we talking specifically about attribution tools? Or on the website front, we actually manage our own website. So we have 2 dedicated developers, and while everyone else is using Simple View, we have our own proprietary system that we use. But I will say it has allowed us to be incredibly nimble throughout this entire process. So rather than having to submit a ticket and wait for someone to respond, I've got 2 developers who can sort of turn on a hairpin and move in different directions when we need to. And certainly, over the last 6 months, good golly, it seems like every week, the winds of change are blowing us in one direction or another. So the ability to quickly respond and make our website adapt to whatever we need done has been really big for us.
Well, specifically, you had mentioned in some of our pre-session conversations about how you're using tools like Bandwango, Concept 3D, both to add new features to the website, like virtual maps.
Sure. I'll touch on those. I think
you had mentioned, quick. And then also with Bandwango. Great.
So real quick, Concept 3D, our convention center was actually contracted with this company to develop a 3D sort of a 3D illustrated map of the center that a planner or an attendee could even use to navigate. We came on top of that project and sort of put some more funds into the kitty. Thankfully, this happened before the pandemic hit and budgets got cut, but to really render out more of the city so that we could show, we sort of set ourselves apart by having more hotels connected to our convention center than any other city. We were able to render all of this out, and now it's a tool that we can actually use for virtual site visits. So we've conducted, my sales team, already done 6 virtual site visits using a mix of the map with live video in market. So, we'll have people speaking from hotels, from Monument Circle in the heart of our city, and sort of mixing that with using the map and showing how the package works together. So that's been a huge tool for us. The other one Matt mentioned is Bandwango, which I have become a huge fan of. So we launched, you talk about attribution, right? And how important that is right now. For one, we're able to, so we launched the Indie Craft Pass last October. We just celebrated a year. And so this is a check-in free pass. You check in at breweries, distilleries, wineries, you earn t-shirts and mugs and things like that. But after a year, for one, I was able to bring on 40 new partners just because I was able to say, we're going to be able to track and market specifically to people who are interested in craft beer and spirits and things like that. I was able to come back to them a year later as they're thinking about re-upping their partnership with us during the worst time possible. And I was able to say, hey, I know that we've signed up over 4,000 people. I know that we've got people from 40 out of the 50 states who've registered. I know that this is how many people visited each of your establishments. So you can actually, ascribe an ROI to that. And again, it gives us a real attribution to share. I think so often DMO marketing is like, aspirational, and we can't actually put numbers to it. Yeah, we think people came. They clicked on our website, or maybe our hotel occupancy was strong, but I think having real data to show that this person walked into your business, right? If they bought one beer that costs $5, we know based on the number of people who came, you've more than paid for your partnership with us. So, we just launched actually an attraction pass this week with Bandwango, which we're very excited about. I've been working on that for a decade, and I finally got the right tech partner and a pandemic to get our attractions to agree to participate. So big fan of their product. And again, I think if we can have attribution behind our marketing efforts, it just makes us that much more relevant.
Well, I'm happy to say I'm back. Apologies for the technical malfunctions, but it sounds like Jeff carried on very well. I think there's been an awful lot of buzz around Bandwango. It seems like here in the last, certainly in the last 6 months to a year. I think most of us know Mo, good guy. And I think it's great. I mean, obviously, we're trying to deliver as much value to our partners as we can. And I think that the other neat thing about Bandwango and platforms like that is also being able to connect a business outcome back to our websites. I think that's so critical. Leroy, Melissa, along that line of driving partner value, are there any tools in your stack or any thoughts you want to share about what you guys are doing likewise to drive value to partners, or to get I guess you could call it feet in streets?
Yep, I can jump in. We are also a Bandwango user, and when we launched with them last year, it was actually probably about a year ago. Feels like that was last fall. So we didn't have a lot of time to get our program up and running before the pandemic hit. It was just kind of getting some traction, but we did the equivalent of their Show Your Badge program. That was where we chose to start with them. Of course, all digital with them. And so we were mostly focused on our downtown businesses and the deals that they could offer. And that was what we were sharing with meeting planners so their clients could take advantage of those offers. Well, unfortunately, our downtown businesses may have been hurt worse than some other areas because we don't have the convention business going on. So it turned out that like a lot of the deals that we had on our site, maybe those businesses weren't currently open. They had to temporarily close. So actually during the pandemic, we opened up that program to the entire metro area. And that just launched recently. And we're also working now on the attraction pass, again, thinking that's a great way that we can help our attractions. Some of our bigger attractions are just now opening back up. I mean, that was really their choice to make. But some of them have waited kind of until the October timeframe. Again, they might not have felt like it was worth opening back up in the summer. So we're looking at that, again, thinking it's a great tool to help our businesses get back on their feet. And within we're a simple view website. And so we have a fairly easy back-end system for our members to add deals, particularly our hotels and resorts. So we really focused on that this summer. Lots of encouragement and emails to our hotel and resort partners asking them to load up those special deals because we were driving traffic to that page through our social platforms. And we had a good response from that. And we've just now then been able to recommunicate with them and say, okay, summer's coming to an end. Please load up your fall deals. So we're doing the same thing, pushing paid media to those pages. And of course, that page is only as good as the member content that we have. So we spend a lot of time communicating and asking them to keep that information updated. But yes, the website is the window to our destination. And I think Jeff mentioned earlier about how much they've just been a content creation machine, and we have as well. And that content has to live somewhere. So, being able to, have a back-end system that allows us to easily upload new content, share special messaging, obviously is important all the time, but particularly these last 6 or 7 months.
Absolutely. Well, thank you guys for sharing some of that. And I want to make sure we leave some time for some questions from the folks. And if you have any questions that you would like us to cover, please feel free to go ahead and start putting those into the chat, and we'll try to cover all of those. But before we get to that, I think, obviously, you guys know me. I'm going to have to talk about research and data a little bit. I wouldn't be the nerd that you guys know and love if I didn't bring it up. So let's talk a little bit just for a second about that. And, Leroy, you mentioned some of the work that you're doing with Arrivalist, and also the way that you're combining some of that information with other sources like Conversant, which I think now, for you folks out there in the audience, if you look that up, you're going to find that they have changed their name to Epsilon. So I know our folks at Epsilon would want us to get that detail out to everybody. But Leroy, talk a little bit about some of the work, your data and research stack, which again is pretty robust. Tell us a little bit about, not just what you're using, but how are you communicating that? It sounds like you're not just making marketing strategies, creating your marketing strategies with that, but also disseminating out to partners like the airport. So would love to hear you talk about that for a second.
Yeah, completely. I mean, I think not to be lost in the marketing conversation, right? A lot of what we do is got to be based on data and research. And I think now more than ever, understanding who the consumer is, what their state of mind is. Shout outs to Destination Analysts and Longwoods. I mean, they've been doing wave research that is so vital to this industry in trying to understand who the consumer is. And that's how you then, what guides your content strategy, because we see that, guess what, people want to know what the destination's doing to protect them or to make it more safe. But, continuing to pull on that thread on the, is what markets are still traveling to your destination. We might know, what 2019 looked like. So what we've done is really tried to dig into the data as soon as it becomes available through Arrivalist to look year over year at kind of breaking out those markets by drive and by fly. And you might be surprised. I mean, markets like Jeff up in Indy and Cincinnati, those are actually, they're up year over year considerably with fly arrivals and drive arrivals. And so we know, those are two markets. It just seems like off the bat, those are slam dunk markets. We have a huge airline partner in Allegiant that flies into our destination, into St. Pete Clearwater Airport. They have been performing at levels that a lot of airlines would wish they could because of their model. Florida's in high demand. People are looking for beach destinations. And no shocker, Allegiant flies from both Cincy and Indy. And so I think, again, trying to follow that data and have that data shape where you're going to be marketing. We are in kind of the halfway mark of building and rolling out our campaign, which is going to launch post-election, hopefully once some of that dust settles. Can't say all of it, but some of it. And using that data to really understand where we're at. We're normally, and John Ronaldo in the chat said, hey, we visit St. Pete Clearwater, normally blanketing the subways in New York City, and those caught his attention. We normally do. You're not going to see that this year. We're not going to be in the Northeast, but that doesn't mean that we're going to stay to just Florida. And in large part because of the Arrivalist data that we're looking at, that's pushing us out of state. I mean, candidly, for our digital plan, we're eyeing about 75-25 out of state. The reality is, I know people are saying drive market. I know people are saying, but the reality is drive market has changed, right? Long haul drive is a reality, and the data, we're following that data to confirm what markets to be in. Can't recommend cross-referencing that data enough. Also, one more plug on another data partner that was new to me. We haven't quite finalized the contract yet, but they can provide some really incredible forecasting, which as a DMO can be really tricky, is Travel Click. They can give you really good forecasting and breaking down the type of business booked into hotels by segment. So meetings or leisure and how they book that, direct, OTA, etc. So we talk about trying to forecast what the future looks like and maybe when we need to be spending and when we don't need to be spending. Really, really excited to get that data in our hands. We don't quite have it, although I've seen a lot of it. Just to throw them out there as well.
Fantastic. Jeff, Melissa, anything you'd like to add?
I'll add a real quick note on the research aspect. One thing that we've learned from past research is that Phoenix is a huge friends and family visitation destination. So it's been really helpful for us to be able to actually go back to that research, identify what those markets are where people are coming from to visit friends and family. One hope is that if things continue to go well, people will be wanting to reconnect with their friends and family around the holiday times. So many major events people have had to miss since March. So, if people are feeling comfortable and want to travel to kind of make up for that lost time with family and friends, I think we might be in a good position. So it's nice to know where those markets are and that we can target those markets, and if, potentially with a visiting friends and family message. So something that we're looking at, and the research, we wouldn't have necessarily been able to dig that deep without the research.
Yeah, I would say similarly. I mean, we're sort of lining up our push for research. We know that because we're still in the thick of it right now, it's a tricky time to go out and really get anything that's incredibly useful beyond what we're getting for free from destination analysts and some of those great resources. But yeah, I mean, we're working with people like Smari and Uber Media with a plan to get out probably next spring to start to gauge like when are people feeling safe again, and what are they feeling safe about, right? We want to make sure we're not pushing the wrong message at a time when our budgets are limited and we have to be really spot on with everything that we spend. So keeping that flow of research and data in front of us, even like with our campaign that was all hotel oriented, we were able to see across the state, where are people traveling from right now? And so we can fine tune our spend in the future based on where we know people are coming from.
Well, I think that's, and from an agency perspective, I think when our clients ask us here at Madden, our perspective on this, I mean, I think that, and this goes to, I think, a great segue into Will's question about, are you guys going to be working with more partners, say in 2021, or are you going to consolidate, which kind of takes us back to the beginning. First question I asked you guys, but I think, at least here at Madden, when our clients ask us about these kinds of questions, there's some things I think that are always just going to be critical, mission critical. We're going to need hotel data. We're going to need some form of qualitative data. We're going to need to understand what the traveler's mindset is, both nationally, regionally, and within our own destinations. And then I think we need really strong quantitative data. That may come from Arrivalist or Uber Media, maybe Adara, a Sojourn. There's a lot of different formats and exciting new technologies there. But those are, I think, table stakes. And so it sounds like you guys, to Will's question, and I think this will probably be how we close out, but are you guys thinking consolidation? I mean, or what do you consider to be table stakes as you look at your marketing stacks in 2021? Is it about consolidation, or is it adding, is there even more partners that you think you might add, that you might have to have?
I'll jump in first. So for us, it's all about, I think there was a time when it was like, you have an agency and they do it all for you. And we are now built in such a way that we do a ton ourselves. So if we can do it ourselves, we do it. But then rather than going to one agency to do everything, we're really looking for specialists in everything, whether that's, things like passes. I once had an experience where an ad agency built a website. I'll never do that again, right? Because they're good at advertising. They're not good at building websites, right? So I think that's a great example where, we are very picky about, we do small buys with a lot of people who do certain things very, very well. And that's going to be our philosophy going forward. That probably means more partners in the mix. But I think it overall makes us a much stronger marketers.
Melissa, how about you in Phoenix?
Yes, I'll jump in. I don't know that we might net out around the same number of partners, because I think on the media side, we'll be looking at those partners that can, like I said, that are really tactical and can really help us. So that might narrow down a little bit, but I think we are going to maybe look at a couple of new partners that we haven't worked with before, just to test to see how they do, but that may mean that we don't do something else. We're also looking with equity, diversity, and inclusion being so top of mind, and this is nothing earth-shattering, but we are adding a tool to make sure that our website is very inclusive and accessible. I know some other DMOs have already been on top of that, but we were already wanting to do that, and we are in the middle of a new website redesign. Also great, pandemic is a great time. We've rebranded, and we're in the middle of a website redesign during a pandemic, so good times here. But adding that component that really helps our team make sure that our website is accessible to people that want to use it was really important. So that's a tool we'll be adding as well. So we're not opposed to adding new tools, but I don't think, we might stay at around the same level.
Yeah, we're going to be a little under where we normally are. I don't know if I would, it's a strategic consolidation approach, but I think we are also in the middle of a website redesign, a relaunch, completely rebuild. But we're going to come in under where we were last year. Like I said, I think for us, a little bit of a re-examination of getting back to basics, less of the what I would call digital high funnel, and more low funnel with our Expedias, our Travelzoo, Sojourn, Conversants of the world.
Well, thank you so much, guys. We are, believe it or not, at the top of the hour, and thank you so much, Melissa, Jeff, Leroy. You guys covered so many things today, and I know everyone's appreciative of the knowledge that you shared. I know I certainly am. And thank you, everyone, for attending today's session. Really look forward to, certainly, I know personally, seeing the rest of these awesome sessions that eTourism has lined up. Certainly. And thank you again to the panel, and everyone have a great rest of your Thursday.
Thank you.